All right, so are you ready to get a little freaked out? Because we are diving back into the world of Smile.
Oh, yeah. That first movie really got under people's skin.
It did.
And this sequel, just as creepy.
Oh, absolutely. And for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, be warned, we're going to be spoiling some major plot points here.
Yeah, consider this your spoiler alert.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we'll be dissecting Smile Part 2, specifically how this horrifying smile curse latches onto a brand new victim, Sky Riley.
And you know what's really interesting about this one? They really explore how trauma and mental health can make someone even more vulnerable to this curse.
Yeah, it adds a whole other layer to the horror.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we pick up 6 days after the first film. Remember Joel, Rose's ex?
Oh, yeah, the one who witnessed her,
Gruesome suicide.
Yeah, exactly.
He's desperately trying to break this curse himself.
Which is a really interesting part of the story, right? Like, how do you break a curse that seems to be so unstoppable?
Right.
And his plan is actually quite clever, but tragic at the same time.
Yeah, it backfires in a big way.
He tries to basically outsmart the entity. You know how the curse gets passed on by killing someone in front of a witness?
Right.
Well, Joel tries to replicate that pattern, but ends up killing the witness, too.
Oh, wow.
So the curse, it just keeps going.
Finds a new host.
Exactly. Through a series of unfortunate events, the curse ends up attaching itself to a drug dealer named Lewis.
Yeah, poor Lewis never saw it coming.
Nope.
And that's where we meet our new protagonist, Sky Riley.
This guy, she's a famous pop star, right? Dealing with all the pressures of fame.
Right.
But she's also wrestling with some serious inner demons. We see her battling substance abuse, the trauma of a car accident that killed her boyfriend.
Right.
And really struggling with her relationships with her mother and best friend.
Yeah, she's already carrying a heavy load, which makes her a prime target for the entity.
It's like the curse seeks out those vulnerabilities,
Huh.
like cracks in our armor.
Right. And the way Sky gets entangled with this curse is just brutal.
Oh, it's intense. Imagine you go to a drug dealer's apartment looking for painkillers and end up witnessing his gruesome entity-fueled suicide. That's Sky's introduction to the curse.
Oh my God.
Talk about a bad day.
Yeah, for sure. And from that point on, it's like the curse takes root and it just slowly but surely chips away at her sanity. We start to see these changes in her behavior.
Yeah, she's having vivid hallucinations. She's paranoid. Everyone around her seems like a potential threat.
Right.
And the film does such a great job of making you question what's real and what's not.
Yeah, it messes with your head.
Totally. Remember that scene at the fan meet and greet? There's this creepy fan, Alfredo, who gets a little too close for comfort. And later, Sky finds what looks like his clothes scattered around her apartment.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. It's like, is this real or is it a hallucination?
Exactly. And that's the brilliance of the film. You're left wondering right alongside Sky.
And her paranoia just keeps getting worse.
Oh, absolutely. She has that outburst during rehearsals, accusing her dancer of trying to sabotage her. And then there's that whole disastrous charity event.
Oh, don't even get me started on that charity event.
Yeah, where she just completely breaks down.
Yeah.
It's like the curse is tightening its grip, forcing her to question everything and everyone.
Which leads us to Morris, this character who adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the story.
Yeah, Morris claims to understand the curse because his own brother was a victim.
Oh, wow.
And he actually offers Sky a solution, a way to break it.
Okay, I am intrigued. Tell me more about this solution because it's not exactly straightforward, is it?
No, not at all. It's actually pretty radical.
Okay.
Morris believes the curse feeds on trauma. It grows stronger with each victim's fear and suffering.
So it's like it needs that negative energy to survive.
Exactly. So he thinks the way to disrupt that cycle is to temporarily stop Sky's heart before the entity can fully consume her.
Whoa. So
Yeah.
it's basically like resetting the system.
Kind of. It's a desperate gamble for
Yeah,
sure.
no kidding.
And Sky, initially, she rejects the idea.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a terrifying decision.
Right. It just seems too extreme, too dangerous. But then things take a really dark turn.
Okay, what happened?
Sky ends up in a psychiatric ward after a really unsettling incident at the hospital where she appears to attack her own mother under the influence of the entity.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
It is, and it's a turning point in the film because it pushes Sky to a breaking point. She's desperate to find Morris, even if his solution means risking her own life.
It's a moment of pure desperation, isn't it?
Absolutely. She realizes the curse is more powerful and more insidious than she ever imagined. And just when you think things couldn't get any worse, there's this massive twist.
Okay. Don't leave me hanging. What's the twist?
Remember Gemma, The one who'd been comforting Skye throughout this whole ordeal?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out she was actually the entity in disguise.
Oh, hold on, wait. So the entire time Sky's been confiding in.
The very thing that's tormenting her.
Oh my gosh. That is messed up.
It is. And it just shows how manipulative this entity can be.
Right? It makes you wonder if anyone can be trusted.
Exactly. And it really sets the stage for a climax that is just terrifying and completely unpredictable.
Yeah.
It really messes with your head, doesn't it? Like, who can you trust?
Right. And that brings us to the climax of the film. Sky finally tracks down Morris, and they head to this abandoned Pizza Hut to put his heart-stopping plan into action.
Which, as you can imagine, doesn't go as smoothly as they'd hoped.
Right, because this entity, it feeds on chaos.
Oh, yeah. It thrives on the suffering of its victims. It's not going to just let Skye go without a fight.
So what happens at the Pizza Hut? Give us the rundown.
Well, picture this. Skye is strapped to a table. Morris is frantically trying to monitor her vitals, getting ready to stop her heart. But just as he's about to administer the medication, the entity strikes. Starts messing with Skye's memories, exploiting her guilt over her boyfriend's death.
Yeah.
Really twisting the knife.
Yeah, the entity really knows how to hit where it hurts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's such a tense scene. Skye is trapped in this internal struggle, reliving the trauma of the accident, battling the entity's manipulations, and then bam, she's suddenly transported.
Wait, transported. Where does she end up?
On stage. At her concert.
Oh, that's a serious jump scare.
Right. 1 minute she's in this abandoned Pizza Hut, the next she's in front of thousands of screaming fans.
Talk about a nightmare scenario.
Is pure psychological torture. The entity is playing with her, pushing her to the edge. And remember, her mother, Elizabeth, who she thought was dead, is in the audience.
Oh my gosh, that just adds another layer of heartbreak to it all.
It does. And then in front of everyone, the entity takes complete control of Skye and forces her to commit suicide.
That is so brutal, and it brings up this whole question of what does taking control really mean in this context?
It's not just like the entity's whispering in her ear. It's like it completely takes over her mind and body. It's using her as a puppet.
So in Sky's case, it's forcing her to end her own life in the most horrifying way imaginable in front of all these people.
It's the chilling reality of the smile curse. And it doesn't end there. The sequel leaves us with this terrifying implication. The curse doesn't die with Skye.
So it spreads. Does it jump to someone else in the crowd?
The ending suggests that everyone who witnessed Skye's death, they're all potential carriers now. It's like a virus multiplying its reach with each new victim.
That is so messed up. It's like this never-ending cycle of horror.
And that's where this sequel really takes things to a whole new level. It's not just about one person's struggle anymore. It's about the potential for a widespread epidemic of terror.
It's terrifying, right? Like, how do you even begin to fight something like that?
And that's the question that just hangs over the whole movie. Is there any escape from this curse? We see Joel try and fail, Skye tries and fails. It's like this relentless cycle.
It really makes you think, what would you do if you were in their shoes? Knowing what we know about how this curse works, is there even a right answer?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, we see Morris offer his solution, that whole heart-stopping thing. But even that doesn't work.
Right. It makes you wonder if there's anything we can do to truly understand or combat something as ancient and powerful as this entity.
And Morris's theory about the curse feeding on trauma, that adds a whole other layer of complexity, doesn't it?
It does. It's like this thing isn't just some mindless evil. It's something way more sinister. It targets our deepest fears and vulnerabilities.
Which is what makes Smile Part 2 so effective. It gets under your skin. It's not just about jump scares and gore. It's about the psychological torment, the slow unraveling of a person's mind.
Yeah, and it really explores the connection between trauma, mental health, and the supernatural force. It makes you wonder, did Skye's past struggles make her more susceptible to the curse?
That's a great question. Could someone with a stronger mental state have fought it off? Or is this entity so powerful that it can overpower anyone?
Yeah, it's a question that really sticks with you. And that whole Gemma twist, that was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. It shows how manipulative this entity is, how it can prey on our trust.
Yeah.
You start to question every interaction, every smile. Like, is it genuine or is there something dark lurking beneath the surface?
Exactly. It creates this atmosphere of paranoia and distrust that just permeates the entire film. You never know who to believe.
And that's what makes it so effective.
Yeah.
You're constantly on edge, just like the characters.
So we've talked about the plot, the psychology, the themes, the scares. But what does it all mean? What's the takeaway from Smile Part 2?
For me, it's about the power of fear. How easily something as innocent as a smile can be twisted into something terrifying. And how our own past traumas can make us vulnerable to forces we don't understand.
Yeah, and that ending with the curse potentially spreading to hundreds of new victims, it suggests that the cycle of terror might just be getting started.
Exactly.
Mm.
It leaves you with this chilling thought. If the curse can spread that easily, what hope is there for stopping it? Is humanity doomed to succumb to this wave of horror? Or is there a way to fight back to break the cycle?
It's a haunting question, one that we'll probably be pondering for a while. But one thing's for sure, Smile Part 2 is a masterclass in psychological horror. It stays with you long after the credits roll.
Absolutely. And it definitely makes you think twice the next time you see a smile. Is it genuine? Or is it hiding something much more sinister?
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Smile Part 2. We've explored the terrifying plot, the psychological depths of the curse, and contemplated some pretty profound questions about fear trauma and the human condition.
We hope you found this deep dive insightful and maybe even a little bit unsettling. Remember, knowledge is power. By understanding fear, by facing our own vulnerabilities, we can better equip ourselves to face the darkness both within ourselves and in the world around us.
So until next time, keep those smiles genuine, and remember, sometimes the most terrifying things are hiding in plain sight.
Sandy shores, their new domain. Crustacean rulers break the chain. Country lands, oceans tide. From the currents can't hide. Pinch of fate, claws of doom. Underwater kings make room. Rock lobsters taking over. Earthquake